that's sort of building on this whole thread we're talking about. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts on this. This is from Kyler on LinkedIn. She says, Eric, you mentioned in your 2023 trends that we would see the death of the big ERP vendors. Is that still a main prediction continuing into 2024? And first of all, I'll add a caveat that when I say things like big ERP vendors are dead, that's an attention grabber, but I don't really think they're dying. I don't think they're dead. I think they are slowly dying. And I think over time, there's some chinks in the armor of their market share and of their position and their stature in the industry and their relevance in the industry because of all the things we're talking about. You've got all these other trends that are not working against big ERP vendors, but they're alternatives to the big ERP vendors. And they're giving customers more options and different paths they can go down. They don't have to just upgrade to S/4HANA because SAP tells them they should. I guess my point in that prediction that I originally made is that the big software vendors like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, they're violating the trust of their customers. And I think long-term that's going to hurt them because they're forcing these premature migrations to the cloud because it's in their best interest. It's in the vendor's best interest, but not necessarily the customers. So I think it's creating a lot of chaos and confusion and panic in the industry that will probably come back to haunt them. And to your point, Greg, it's causing organizations to say, well, if this is a total re-implementation going from ECC to S/4HANA or going from Microsoft Dynamics AX to D365 or whatever, we might as well just go out and look at some other vendors. So I think that's what I mean when I say the death of big ERP. I think over time, if they continue to operate this way and the market forces and the options continue to proliferate in the marketplace, I think eventually you may not see these three big vendors as the dominant players. All we have to do is look back at Bond. Bond used to be the number one ERP vendor in the marketplace. It wasn't that long ago. And where's Bond now? It's buried somewhere within Infor right now. And they're trying to figure out ways to get people off Bond into other Infor products. So I should be curious to get your thoughts, though, on that. What do you think about the big ERP vendors and what all these trends we're talking about? What does it mean for the big ERP vendors, in your opinion?
Well, I've had an opportunity over the last year and a half to see the roadmaps for a lot of the large ERP vendors. And I would respectfully disagree with you a little bit in terms of the death of the ERP vendors. I think the ERP vendors are pivoting and incorporating new technologies and things like Marketplace, where people that are using their enterprise systems can go out and pick up new functionality, new technology, and basically plug and play into their existing systems. Those things are changes that are rapidly keeping the large enterprise systems relevant. What I am seeing is a death of the. This is going to be controversial. So, death of the GSIs. So the global SIs that actually implement and influence the sale of different software systems into organizations, I think have not been trustworthy in that idea that they would go in and independently choose the best solution for a client, for their business, for their operations. They actually try to steer things in a direction that's going to point toward their own implementation practice that is aligned with a single ERP vendor. And so that's what I think is going to be dying. I think that the large enterprise systems, the ERP systems, are understanding that has been going on for a long time, and they're taking things into their own hands. That's the direction I think that's going. So
I guess what we can both agree on is that there's going to be disruption to the industry. It's just a matter of the incumbents in the industry are going to be disrupted. It's just a matter of how significant and which ones are going to be the most impacted, whether it's the GSIs or the vendors or some combination of both.
Well, think about this, Eric. I mean, as everyone is looking at new technologies, they're looking at changing things for their people, for their processes. We're coming out of COVID. People are coming back into the office. Things are changing with the way that people operate systems and support systems ongoing, right? As all of that change is happening, everyone's needing to get with that change in one way or another. So very disruptive My business, in order to keep up with the business down the street, it's got to automate a lot of the processes that we currently have. We've got to update everything that we've got from a security standpoint, from an enterprise operations standpoint, from an analytics and data standpoint. And where are the resources going to come from to be able to accomplish all of those implementations, all of that change? Some of it can be absorbed by AI, making processes, much more rapid from an implementation standpoint, from the testing standpoint that we talked about, and testing automation. But you're still going to have consultants, and you're going to want the A team to be working on your implementation, right? Yeah. So it comes back to that whole planning process. If you're not planning now for the change that's going to be happening in 2024, getting back to our original point, you're going to be way behind. So that's what I see as just, again, the perfect storm in 2024. It's going to be a lack of resources to do things, a lack of understanding about what's coming next, and a big demand for people to move off of old legacy systems onto new technology and get their people to change and come along with that new technology.
Yeah. Great point. And here's just a follow-up comment, sort of validating or agreeing with what you and I talked about. This is from LinkedIn. The LinkedIn person says, I agree, old wine in a new bottle, but integrating legacy application to the new system, even if you just mentioned SAP ECC to S4HANA, current implementation partners here in India say that the new S4HANA is a complete new setup. So sort of agreeing that S4HANA is not just a re-implementation, or it's not just an upgrade of ECC. It's a completely new setup, which is part of the appeal of S4HANA. Is a totally different product. It's cloud-based. It's built on the HANA platform, et cetera, et cetera. So there are upsides. It's not just that SAP decided just to change everything for the fun of it. They are doing this as an improvement, but so that's the good news. The bad news is it's not as simple as it may sound.